This is Roman Davis with Cascade Sports, back with you another day. Together we are stronger, together we are better, and together we make change. Today, I have with me Laron Harris, also known as the Whoman, Missouri Disc Golf Hall of Famer. Sir, could you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, Roman, that was pretty good. Yeah, my name is Laron Harris. I've been in disc golf for 33 years, and it's a very fun sport. A lot of the Black community all over the United States don't really know about it, or they've seen it and they just didn't, jump into it and learn about it. But in '89, I saw it and I was hooked. Been playing ever since.
And you started playing here in Kansas City. So starting in '89, even as I started playing a couple years ago, I noticed there weren't a lot of Black people, people melanin toned, playing the sport. Could you kind of give us some background of how that was starting off in '89? Were there a lot of Black people in it then? How did it feel? What are some of your experiences?
Well, in '89, I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he used to play in Kansas City, a little course called Rosedale. But he wasn't a pro, but I do remember seeing like one other Black guy. But he was seldom seen. He was probably a casual player, and that was cool. I started out as a casual player. I started with 5 Black guys, and we just kind of went from one sport to something less impactful in our bodies, and found disc golf. So we played for a while, and we were the only men of color on the course for several years. But a lot of the guys that I started playing with, they just wanted it, to be a casual thing. But I saw something deeper in it, and I decided to stick with it. So once I started playing tournaments, yeah, no matter where I went, I was the only Black man on the course. Um, and back then, I'm gonna say I was a little bit naive about some of the things that was going on. I mean, I was catching it from some white people and some Black people. The Black people didn't quite understand the sport, and a lot of Black people don't now to this day. But back then, to see a Black guy playing this sport of disc golf with 98% white people, they they didn't understand it, so they knocked it. They just kind of gave me a hard time about it. But then on the other end, as a competitor, I didn't let the noise bother me coming from some of the white players, making racial jokes, wondering why am I here? The Black guys, we've taken all the other sports. Why don't you leave this alone? That kind of stuff. But me being naive about it, it was just me being a competitor. I looked at it as if, they're trying to get me off my game, by running their mouth. Um, and that's the way I used it. I didn't hold any grudge about it. I just kind of laughed it off because I thought they were trying to get under my skin and break my concentration, but that wasn't going to happen. So, I just kind of let it ride. And from that point on, I just knew no matter where I went in the country, I had to be on my P's and Q's getting out of my car, not just me playing the sport. I was going to be looked at, the minute I got out because I was the only Black person there, And to be real honest, that's kind of how the nickname came about, the Who Man. No matter where I went, where I was warming up on the golf course, that was the question. Who was that guy? Who was that guy? And one of my friends just, laughingly just added the Who Man. So he put that together and that name has stuck. So no matter where I go, people know me more by my nickname than my real name. But, I don't know. I don't think people could say the things that they did back then. If they said it today, I'm a little bit older, probably don't want to take that from them. I might be a little bit more verbal to, defend myself these days. But back then, it was just more I thought they were trying to get me off my game. So I didn't let it bother me. Actually, the more crap people talk, the more I got focused and, and did my job. So over the years, I have over 30 PDGA wins. And, since since I've been playing so long, I've been around before Facebook and, before they were keeping really good records, so all of my wins were not recorded. And, we all kind of found that out, a while back that, back in the 90s, early 90s, they just didn't keep good records. But, it is what it is.
Right.
But locally, I've done pretty good. I have 7 club championships under my belt. I think that record will never be beaten. There might be a couple of guys that have repeated, have 2 championships, but I don't think anybody will ever reach 7. So, that I like that part. Um, you know, what else you want to know, my man?
So, I'm gonna go back to the story because I started playing maybe 3 years ago, going
Sure.
into my third year, and I can imagine how it is to be blazing a trail, to go into a space where not many white people understand who you are, and then also your own people not understanding who you are and what you are trying to do, and you stay focused and stay humble, and also pursued your own path regardless of what anyone else said. And what those things do, those speak to your character as a person, your drive, your determination, and your focus. And these are all principles that we tend to take for granted, um, especially when it comes to people blazing those trails, and those who, in my experience, usually fear not knowing who you are and what you're about. They tend to talk a little smack to sometimes throw you off your game, but also to make themselves feel comfortable. And so the lesson that I took from that, especially since the first time I met you, you were the first black guy I contacted, and you began to teach me those lessons and gave me more confidence outside of the world to go ahead and pursue my own journey, whether my people understood it or other people understood it. And so those are valuable lessons that carried you to those 7 club championships, over 30 PGA wins, and also now have you inducted into the Missouri Hall of Fame. So could you go ahead and talk about that a little bit and what that means to you? But before you do, I do want to say, since I came into the sport, a lot of different stereotypes that I've had about white people, and then different interactions, I was allowed to interact with them more. And what I've learned is that when you're on the disc golf course, it doesn't matter what color you are. It's whether or not you can throw that disc and whether you can bang those chains. And so
Yeah,
that's the thing that I really love about the sport and coming across, is that when you're on that disc golf course, hey, it's a matter of how well you can play, and the color of your skin doesn't matter. And so that's something that I also value with the Kansas City community, because we have a large disc golf community. But go ahead and talk to us a little bit about that Hall of Fame induction and what that means.
well, it's something that I didn't think about in the process of all these years. That wasn't like on the list of things to do. But basically, to me, it comes from being a good ambassador, um, being able to talk to people in awkward situations. What I mean by that is I'm in the middle of a tournament, and a gentleman walk up with his daughter and asked me to sign the back of her shirt. This was years ago. I was in Carolina, and those are the little things you don't forget, because he said that, Mr. Harris, I don't think we'll ever get a chance to meet or see you again. Could you please sign my little daughter's shirt? I'm like, are you kidding me? Yes. I don't care if it's in the middle of the tournament. You thought that much of me? Yes, I will take this time out to sign the back of your daughter's shirt, things of that nature. The camaraderie with all the players from all the years, making me reach down and play hard and fight hard, in this sport. They all saw, the type of golfer I was, very serious, by the rules. I'm here to do a job. We can talk about and be friends later. But for these 2 to 3 hours, I'm on a mission, Either, you can grab my shirt tail and hold on, or you can just stand back and, let your mouth drop. But I got work to do. But, playing well, being a good ambassador, giving back to your community, educating as many golfers as you can along the way with just little tips. And then I guess that gets you into the Hall of Fame later. It felt great last year, just when I was first told about it, that it's like, wow, okay, everything that I've done, I mean, this is the ultimate payoff right there. So yeah, I'm pretty humble about it. I'm pretty humble about everything. If you want to know, just pull up the record. If you catch me at a good time, yeah, we can sit around and have, talk about the fish stories, the one that got away and all that kind of stuff. But I just, I enjoy the sport. I like sharing my knowledge about the sport. I like trying to get people more involved in making themselves better, but practice isn't sexy in any sport, but that's what's going to make you a much better golfer or in anything that you do in life. The more you practice, the more it's going to be more natural to you. So that's just my little deal right there.
Yeah, and I definitely agree because when I first came onto the sport, I was horrible. I didn't think I would get any better, but then I just made sure I practiced. And you instilled in me a couple principles in regards to doing field work, practicing the putting, doing the same routine, staying calm. Those are principles. Like again, those are things that are applicable to life, but then
Yes.
they also transfer over into the disc golf course. And so the principles in which you stand for, those things don't change. But talking about disc golf, how have you seen the sport change over the years? Whether it's more players, the disc has changed, baskets, whatever. What have you seen? What are some of those significant changes?
Well, the most significant change is the volume of players. That's just blown up, it's just out there, which is a good thing, because we need exposure. Secondly, I would say the technology of the plastic, now versus the mid 90s, the way they construct the disc now, they can make a disc for kids
Yeah.
arm speeds up to somebody that's 70, 75 years old, have their arm speed in the mix. So no one's left out as far as the technology. If you take the time, you can find the right type of disc, to fit your game. Back in the 90s, early 2000s, that was a dream. That was not part of the gear at the time. You had to, what we would call season a disc. You would have to break it in over a period of time before
Mhm.
you can get it to fly the way you want to. But now you just go into some of these shops, you tell them what you normally throw and the numbers you want to hang around, boom, they can hook you up, that's great, and more manufacturers and more retailers are getting involved with the personal aspect of the game for each competitor. So that's very cool.
Yeah, that's very true. The influx of the game has changed. And then what I'm starting to see is that there are a lot of courses popping up all around the place. You're starting to see different companies. And what I want to acknowledge is Dynamic Disc. They have supported you coming out the gate, and so I definitely do appreciate what they've done. I throw Dynamic Disc, even though there are a lot of other discs out there. That's
Right.
kind of what I came into, and I just like that consistency. And so, with this being the 40th year anniversary of Kansas City Disc Golf, um, and some players looking at, or some people looking at this interview may be interested in actually getting out on the disc golf course. What are the top three things that you want to tell people as they come into the sport and as they learn the sport? What are some key takeaways that you want people to have?
Wow. Key takeaways. Well, I mean, have an open mind, because someone that's been playing this sport for a while can make it look really, really easy. And then you'll turn around and try to do the same thing. And it's just not. So, be patient, is one of the things that I would say. There's always tons of people out here willing to help you, to um, learn a little bit more. Some of it can be, you know, a little bit of overkill or just way too much information. But, you know, being patient is probably going to be the biggest key. You're going to have the wrong plastic in your hands sometime because you got buddy A that's trying to help you, and then buddy B is going to, you know, so it's a lot of being patient. But you can also reach out to myself for lessons. There's Dwayne Steiner, Matrick Wright. There's tons of golfers that, you know, people can go to a local disc golf page on Facebook and just ask for trainers. A lot of people will have their own suggestions, but you will have several people to choose from. But you know, let's go back 1 minute. And I do want to say I want to thank Dynamic Disc because they gave me a platform for the last 7 years to be out here to grow the sport, to put disc in people's hands so they can try them, you know, give away new bags, and just put me in position to, you know, educate more kids. I do tons of clinics. So I wanted to thank Dynamic Disc for giving me this platform to, you know, further the sport from kids to grandparents.
Yeah, and you've done an amazing job of growing the sport. Even taking me and my crew. I've seen you do plenty of lessons. I remember the first time you gave me a lesson and we brought out the poles, brought out the basket, and you had me doing all types. I felt like I was on Karate Kid and I was Daniel's son, and you were telling me to do things and I didn't understand until those things started sinking in as part of me and part of my memory. And then those things changed my game. And
Yeah.
so you know, what I want to say is thank you, Laron, for all that you've done for the sport of the game, especially for introducing it to myself and my friends. And then disc golfers, whether they're black, white, or whatever, you know, you're in the game. You stay in the game, you stay helping people, and you live to your word. And those things show the value of who you are and the integrity that you brought. So I wanted to make sure that I give the Hall of Famer the flowers. Flowers here, especially on the 40th year anniversary of the Kansas City Wide Open and KCDG. This is big for the Kansas City. This is also big for a community, but also this is something that's big for our people in our community. So that way we can branch out, continue to do more things. Most importantly, get outside, get some of that sunlight, have some fun, throw some discs. Hey, and like we say, bang those chains.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
You know it. Well, hey, I appreciate the interview, Laron. Like I say, audience, together we are stronger. Together we make change, and together we make things better. Thank you, Laron. I'll be in touch soon.
All right, Roman, you have a good evening, my man.
Do the same.